it's love, but I loves to hate it, loving the way I do. I hates it for loving the likes of you.
She had a fire in her eyes and a voice that could stop a room. Ann Sheridan wasn't just a movie star. She was the Oomph Girl, a nickname that made her blush but turned her into a World War II pin-up legend. Fans adored her, studios wanted her, and soldiers carried her image into battle. But while the world was busy watching her shine, few noticed the quiet shadows that crept into her later years. Her final days were marked not by applause, but by a private battle, and a fortune wrapped in confusion and mystery. So what really happened to the woman who once lit up every screen? Stay with us as we uncover the story behind her final breath and the fortune she left behind that still raises questions. Born Clara Lou Sheridan in Denton, Texas, 1915, Ann grew up far from the glamour of Hollywood. Her father was a garage mechanic, and money was always tight. But little Clara had big dreams and a grit that couldn't be taught. She wasn't the loudest in the room, but she had a quiet charm and a voice that could melt into any role. After high school, she studied at North Texas State Teachers College, but acting tugged at her heart. At 19, on a dare, her sister submitted Ann's photo to a Paramount beauty contest. She didn't just win, she left Texas behind and stepped into a world that would never be the same. And with that one photo, a humble Texas girl became a rising star. But the road ahead wasn't all red carpets and roses. Ann's big break came in the 1930s, starting with bit parts at Paramount. But it wasn't until Warner Brothers picked her up that the real spotlight found her. With her smoky voice, smart wit, and undeniable presence, she brought something new, sex appeal with soul. She starred in hits like Angels with Dirty Faces, alongside James Cagney, They Drive by Night, and King's Row with Ronald Reagan. But perhaps her biggest moment came not from a role, but from a title. The press dubbed her the Oomph Girl. It stuck. She hated it, but it sold tickets. During World War II, Ann was a symbol of American strength and beauty. Her photos were pinned in barracks across the globe. But behind the fame, she fought for better roles, refused to play dumb blondes, and demanded to be seen as more than a body in a dress. Still, the more she resisted the Hollywood machine, the more it pushed back, and slowly the parts began to fade. Ann married 3 times, but none brought lasting happiness. Her first marriage, to actor Edward Norris, ended quickly. The second, to fellow actor George Brent, began with passion, but unraveled under the pressures of fame. Her third, to voice actor Scott McKay, brought hope, but that too slipped away within a year. She never had children, though she often spoke of wanting a family. Friends described her as fiercely independent, sharp-tongued, but deeply loyal. Off-screen, she avoided the glitz, preferring jeans, books, and quiet conversations over parties. As the roles slowed in the 1950s and 60s, Ann turned to television and the stage. She starred in the series Pistols and Petticoats, but just as her career found a second wind, illness crept in. Behind her strength was growing exhaustion, and while she smiled for the press, those close to her sensed something wasn't right. She had built a career on being unbreakable. But even steel can rust, and just when it seemed she might find peace, life took a final, quiet turn, one she never scripted for herself. It was a quiet morning in January 1967 when Hollywood lost one of its fiercest women. There were no trumpets, no headlines, just a brief studio release, almost clinical in tone. Ann Sheridan, once known across the globe as the Oomph Girl, had died. At just 51, she was gone. But what shocked her fans wasn't just the loss, it was how little the world seemed to know about her final chapter. She had spent a lifetime fighting to be more than a poster, and in the end, she faded not into the spotlight, but into the shadows. In the mid-1960s, Ann began experiencing fatigue, weight loss, and discomfort she quietly attributed to stress. The truth was far more serious. She had been diagnosed with both esophageal and liver cancer. True to form, she told almost no one. She kept filming Pistols and Petticoats, showing up with her hair done, her lines memorized, and that same razor-sharp wit, even as the disease drained her from within. Only a handful of close friends and crew knew the truth. To the public, she remained radiant, but behind the curtain, she was preparing for a final act no one would see. There were no interviews, no final confessions, no goodbye letter. In a city obsessed with fame, Ann made herself small, not from shame, but from resolve. Some believe she was protecting her legacy. Others think she feared being remembered as weak. A few rumors claimed she had been misdiagnosed at first, that time was lost. Others whispered she had refused aggressive treatment altogether. No one really knows. Her death on January 21st, 1967, just 5 days before her 52nd birthday, felt like a ripple instead of a wave. And yet, for those who loved her work, it was like a reel had snapped mid-scene. There was no public service, no televised tribute. Hollywood, distracted by younger stars and louder headlines, barely blinked. But that silence, it said more than any eulogy. It spoke of a woman who had given everything to an industry that celebrated her body, mocked her mind, and forgot her strength. Ann Sheridan didn't die in tragedy, she died in mystery, and in doing so, she left behind one final role, the woman the world never truly understood. At the time of her passing, Ann Sheridan's estate was modest by Hollywood standards, estimated between $500,000 and $700,000. But the real mystery was what became of it. She had no children, and her will named no single clear beneficiary. Her siblings, scattered and low profile, were left to handle legal matters. Rumors swirled about lost investments, unclaimed properties, and personal items vanishing before lawyers could intervene. The home she lived in was quietly sold. Memorabilia disappeared into private hands. Some claimed a portion of her royalties from older films went unpaid or misdirected due to sloppy accounting by studios, a common fate for stars of her era. To this day, there's little public record of where her estate ultimately settled. No museum holds her treasures, no foundation bears her name. Just scattered rolls, black and white photos, and a legacy that somehow drifted like smoke from a forgotten reel. Ann Sheridan's name may have faded from the marquee, but her mystery lingers, tucked between the pages of Hollywood's quietest secrets. In the next part, we'll look back at the roles that made us stop and watch. The voice, the smile, the woman we remember from our living rooms, and the old theater down the street.
Years may pass, but legends never truly leave us. They live on through the stories, the smiles, and the memories we still hold dear. Join us, like, share, and subscribe.